Hey guys, welcome back to the vlog. For some of you, you got to see a video last week, and for others, it was taken down before you had the chance. I kind of want to talk about this for a moment because not only does it have you confused, it has me confused also. So YouTube took down my video after it being up for a little over an hour and gave me a strike saying I violated their terms and conditions, which was a big surprise to me because I thought I was doing everything correctly. And so I reached out and appealed to YouTube, and they denied my appeal, saying that I have a 1-week suspension where I couldn't communicate with you guys, couldn't post anything, all that fun stuff. And then they said that if it happens again, then there'll be a more substantial timeout for me. So I wrote back again and I said, can you tell me exactly what I did wrong so I can make sure I don't do it again? And I got no response. I feel that in order to correct an issue, you kind of have to know what the issue is. Now, about 2 months ago, they sent me a warning saying, hey, you're promoting something that's against our terms and conditions on our site and we don't like it. Don't do that, basically. And so I took down what I was promoting. I deleted a couple of videos that had similar promotions in it. And I thought, all right, taken care of. And here we are 2 months later, and they took down my video. The only thing I can think of that would give them pause would be that I'm promoting this information on a different site, not related to YouTube. It's on my Instagram, and apparently having a link from my YouTube page to my Instagram is a violation of some sort. At least that's what I believe. I can't find anything else that could be a cause. So I decided to delete any links to any kind of other media that might be outside of Google. And hopefully that will take care of the problem. And I have talked to other vloggers out there that have similar issues with YouTube and having their videos taken down or strikes put up against them. And it's kind of, I don't know, I don't think they handle it very well. More communication is always better in my belief, and the fact that they just come back with one statement, you violated our terms and conditions, and don't give a clear example of what the issue actually is, makes it difficult to correct. So I believe I'm doing the right thing. I believe this will take care of the issue. But if you don't see this video and YouTube takes it down, well, I guess I was wrong. And might be a few weeks before I'm able to talk about it again because I'll be banned. Anyway, let's get into the video. Sorry for giving you all the drama. And hopefully you'll be able to watch my videos unimpeded. Sit back, relax, enjoy. Here it comes. All right, I'm going to show you every significant hand of this 5-hour day worth of poker. Starting off with the first hand of the day, 30 minutes into our session, we get ace-jack offsuit from under the gun. I've been very quiet. Open for a raise to 15. I end up getting 2 callers for the $15. And we're going to end up going 3 ways to this flop with $49 in the center. And we see a flop that comes out king high, king 10-4 with 2 hearts. We have ace-jack, we have the lead. We decide to c-bet it for $25. Maybe they'll fold, maybe they'll call. We have some outs if they call. First player reaches for his chips and then thinks better about it and mucks it. Next player folds and we win our first hand. A little while later, we pick up king-queen suited. 1 limper in front of us, we raise to $15. We end up getting 3 callers. So we're going to go 4 ways to a flop with $60 in the pot. And the flop comes out 9-8 deuce with 2 diamonds. So we got 2 overs and a flush draw and a possible backdoor straight draw. All 3 players check to me. I'm going to stab $40, a little bit bigger than normal. I'll just be happy to take it down here. The short stack, who has about $80 remaining, counts out $40 for the call. Most likely he has a 9 in his hand. He puts in the call. The other two players end up folding out, looking for a king, a queen, or a diamond, and we get the 8 of spades. Now our opponent jams all in for his $40. I don't think I can fold for 40. I still have my flush draw, and I don't think he has an 8. I think he most likely has a 9. Well, hoping to hit one of my outs, and we brick it with a 10 of hearts. My opponent shows king, 9 of hearts, and wins the pot. All right, we're about 45 minutes into the session. I look down at 2 9s. Well, that's worth a raise. Make it $15. You get a call from the player in the hijack, player on the button. The blinds end up folding out. So at $49 in the middle, we're going 3 ways to a flop. Hoping for a 9, wishing for a 9, and we get ace, jack, 7, rainbow. Well, I don't think c-betting here would do much good going into 2 opponents with all those overcards. So I just check it. Player in the hijack bets for 25. Player on the button ends up calling the 25, and we just end up folding because that is the smart thing to do when you get a flop like that with a pair of 9s. We're in the small blind with jack 10 offsuit and get a cheap flop when we throw in our extra $2. We go 5 ways to the flop of jack 8 deuce with 2 spades. Now, it's really important to recognize why you play certain hands. Now, a hand like jack 10, I'm not playing it to make top pair with a mediocre kicker. I'm playing it to make a straight, 2 pair, 3 of a kind, that kind of hand. So when I flop top pair on a draw heavy board, I am checking it like 99% of the time. My opponent to my left bets out for $12. One player folds, next player puts in the call for the $12, and now it's to the player in the cutoff who decides that he wants to raise, and he makes it $36. What does this mean? Well, it means that there's someone out there with a flush draw, maybe someone out there with a straight draw, and someone with a hand that's stronger than jack 10. So I think it's very simple just to get out of the way. It's not the flop you're looking for. So remember why you play a hand and why you don't. You don't play it to get trapped. All right, finally we pick up a premium hand. 2 kings in middle position. I make it $15. I end up getting 2 callers for the $15. We head off to a flop, and it comes out 10, 6, 5 with 2 diamonds. Overall, this is a very good flop. Only thing you have to worry about is perhaps a flush draw or someone flopping a set, maybe 2 pair with 6, 5. I bet for $25. My opponent at the end of the table puts in a quick call. The other one folds out, and we see the jack of diamonds on the turn. Not the best card in the world, but my opponent only has like $65 remaining, so I just put them all in. I still got an overpair. I show 2 pair at the end. He had ace king with the ace of diamonds, so he picked up quite a few outs on that turn card, but happened to miss them all. Well, I just got called for the main game. This is my last hand playing here. I get pick up a pair of 9s, open for a raise, make it $20 after one player limped, and everyone folds. So we're taking our small win and headed over to the main table. Well, the good news is the main table has much deeper stacks. The bad news is that there are a lot of good players at this table, and probably the 2 best players there are directly behind me. So I got a poor seat for this, and of course it's a horrible seat for vlogging. Well, the first player raised to 12, next player made it 30, and it came back around to me, and for $30, I'm going to see a flop with my pocket 9s. The other player calls. We go 3 ways to queen, queen, 10. Not the greatest flop in the world. I check it. The initial raiser now puts out a bet for $30, and he is quickly called by the other player who made it 30 pre-flop. What to do with pocket 9s? Well, obviously I'm just going to have to muck this. It's not going to be a good outcome when you have that kind of action. And the turn card came was a 10 of diamonds. Anyway, well, this is definitely the hand of the day. I'm in the small blind with pocket jacks, and there is a $6 straddle. Player opens for 35. It is called by another player for 35, and it's folded to me. I think this is a raise or kind of fold situation. I only have like 480 in my stack, so I decide to put it in a raise. I make it 135. It's folded around to the player in the straddle. He pretends like he wants half his money back, but he's just joking around. He folds. The next player, who is the one I'm concerned about, the one who opened for $35, thinks for a while before finally putting in the call. Now, when he puts in the call, I'm kind of taking aces and kings out of his range. I think if he has one of those two hands, he would want to isolate me and get rid of the other player that's calling behind him, not giving him a good price to snap him off if he has aces or kings. So I'm thinking queens might be the top of his range. A lot of ace kings in his range. Maybe a few pocket tens. Anyway, the other player calls. We go 415 in the center, and we see a flop that comes out 9-5 deuce with two diamonds. I got an overpair. I got less than a pot size bet left. I think the only thing I can do here is jam. So I stick it all in for $342. My opponent, who raised to $35, now goes into the tank for a very long time. And at first I thought he had a tough decision. But the more time he spent, the more time I'm thinking, maybe he's feigning weakness to get an overcall from the other player. So did he flop a set of nines? I'm not sure. Maybe it's just kind of a knit roll type of situation. But eventually he does make the call, and the other player does end up folding out. So it's just going to be the two of us to see a turn in the river, and I think I need a lot of help. So we see a 3 of diamonds, no help, and a 10 of clubs, definitely no help. And he shows pocket kings. So even if I just call pre-flop, I think I would have got all or most of my chips in there with that kind of board. But yeah, sometimes I just don't know how to play pocket jacks, whether to play it aggressively or just passively. Or maybe the best answer is just not playing pocket jacks. I don't know. What do you guys think? How would you have played this hand? Well, lately my favorite pastime is reloading after losing a big hand, and I do that for $500. About a half hour later, we pick up pocket kings under the gun, open for $15. We end up getting 3 callers for the $15. So with $64 in the center, we're going to head off to a flop, which comes out 9-5 deuce with 2 clubs. I do not have a club in my hand, so that might be an issue. Well, that's a good flop for my hand, I believe, but it really doesn't hit my range, and therefore most of my hands would check this flop. So that's what I decided to do. I decided to check it, see what my opponents would do. First player ends up checking. Next one bets for $50. Pretty good sized bet. The other player calls $50. The first player who bet the $50 has about $140, $150 remaining in his stack, and I think that he's most likely to have a 9. The player who called is probably on a draw. Most likely he has some sort of flush draw. I want to raise to protect my hand at this point and charge all those possible draws out there. The first player who bet $50 into a $60 pot, I think has a strong hand, and he's probably going to be going with it. So he has about 150 left. So if I raise to 150, he's going to put in the call, and now the flush draw would probably get a really good price to continue. So 150 raise definitely out. Now I started thinking about 200, maybe even 250. Get that first player to call and not give such a great price to the other player. But then I realized the player in the cutoff is the type of player who has been gambling all day. So I think if he has a flush draw, he's just going to go with it no matter what size I make it. So I decided just to stick it all in there, give him a really bad price, and see if he calls off. Well, apparently the first player ends up folding rather quickly. He was just blind stabbing, and the player in the cutoff didn't think very long either before he mucks his hand, and he was drawing to some sort of straight, I believe. Well, here I'm in the big blind. Player opened for $10, rather small sizing. Got like 3 callers for the 10, and so for an additional $7, I could see a suited connector flop, and of course I miss everything, and we just have to fold it. But it was nice getting a cheap flop. Here I decided to raise a limper with ace-10 offsuit. Just try to isolate him, make it $20. Well, the isolation doesn't work when I get called from the player on my left, who's a good solid player. Next player puts in a min raise. This has got to be a strong hand. The player in the cutoff, who has nothing invested, decides to put in the call also, and it looked like he wanted to raise. Comes back around to me. Now I got to put in $20 with a ragged ace. I'm probably up against much better hands, so I just get out of the way. And just for your information, my opponents had pocket kings, pocket queens, and pocket jacks on a flop that came out queen high. And for all the fans out there that like the movie Hunt for Red October, every once in a while I like to do what I call a crazy Ivan, where I do something totally unexpected, and usually it's in position with some malintent. I have a player open for a raise to 15 from the hijack. He is someone I want to play pots with. He has a lot of chips in his stack, and I think he's willing to mix it up with me because he never believes me. So I raise with 10-7 of diamonds to 45. He calls. We get a flop of 10-10-9 rainbow. Pretty good flop. He checks. I see bet small. I should see bet larger here, at least $35, but I make it 20. He puts in a very quick call. Turn card comes as a 6. Now I think he has something, maybe a pocket pair. Maybe he has a hand like king queen with a gut shot, maybe king jack, queen jack. I need to charge him, and as I said, he never believes me when I have a hand, so I decided to bet for $80. Looking back on this, I think it's a little bit too greedy because after him tanking for over a minute, he finds the fold. I'm very upset because how often do you get to do a crazy Ivan and then smash the flop like this against a player with a deep stack? I should have bet larger on the flop and then continued with a smaller bet on the turn, giving him a chance just to make a play at me, like I'm trying to get away with a cheap steal, and he might come over the top and give me a bunch of chips. Well, this one got away, messed another one up. Well, here I pick up a real hand. I get ace, king, offsuit. Put in a pretty good size raise, and everybody ends up folding. So just win the blinds and won $6 straddle. Another opportunity with ace 10 offsuit. Put in a raise to $15. I do get one caller for the $15. I'm sure he's calling with a very wide range. Flop comes with some big cards in it. I don't even remember, but I ended up c-betting for 20, and he insta-mucks. Again, I pick up a pretty good hand. This time I got ace king offsuit. Open for a raise. I get one caller. Flop comes out, ace high with a couple rags. I check it. He checks it back. I do a delayed c-bet. He insta-mucks, and we move on to the next hand. Now, I haven't been getting a lot of action with my raises, so I decided to do something unusual for me, which is limping in with ace queen from early position. So there's a $6 straddle. I limp. Player in the cutoff puts in a raise to $35. Now, he's a competent player. The player in the under the gun position puts in the call as well for the 35. Now I thought about squeezing here the old limp re-raise and just taking down the $80, but I decided I wanted to play a hand, and I kind of want to play it where the under the gun player is still involved in the pot. As I said earlier, he's a player that doesn't believe me often and will give me more action than I probably deserve. So we head off 3 ways to a flop with 109 in of Jack 8-4, all diamonds. Now I do have the ace of diamonds in my hand. I decided to check to the aggressor, and he checks it back on the flop. So looking for a queen, an ace, a diamond, and we get the queen of clubs. That's a really good card. I now have top pair and the nut flush draw. While the under the gun player is peeking at his cards, I peek quickly at mine just to make sure that it was the ace of diamonds in my hand and not the queen of diamonds. He checks. I bet for $60. The initial raiser now puts in the fold, and it's back over to the under the gun player. He decides to put in the call, so I'm believing that he has either a pair or a flush draw. Now he could have a queen. Maybe he has the queen of diamonds and he has both the pair of queens and a diamond flush draw. The river card comes as the 7 of diamonds, which is a beautiful card because it gives me the nut flush. Of course, there are now 2 straight flush draws or 2 straight flush possibilities out there, but I'm going to disregard those and just think I have the best hand. Trying to pick a price that he would call with the queen of diamonds, and I put out $145. I figure 65% of pot would be good. It still looks a little bit bluffy, and if he has a queen of diamonds in his hand, that he would not be able to fold. He definitely thinks for a bit and counts out the 145. He seems a little cautious. He peeks back again at his cards. But finally he decides just to put it on in. And of course I just tell him that I have the flush. I said the flush. And he did show that he had the king of diamonds. Here I'm in the small blind. The player raised to 15. Another player calls the 15. The following player raises to $60. Comes back around to the player on the button, who makes it $150. And I look down at ace king offsuit. Not the kind of situation you want to have when you have ace king is have an action like this, because you're probably beat and there's probably a lot of aces and kings missing. So I decided to fold it. I have $1 invested. I mean, when there's a raise, a 3-bet, and a 4-bet, jamming with ace king from the small blind is possible, but I don't really like it. Anyway, the person who put in the 3-bet now jams all in, and the person on the button makes the fold. How would you play ace king? Well, after 5 hours of play, I decided to hang it up. I was still stuck a little bit, but the game kind of changed. Some of the looser action already left. Well, for the week, we ended up winning $10. Now, you guys don't think that's a lot of money, but trust me, 67 cents an hour is nothing to sneeze about. I mean, I remember my grandparents making 67 cents a day. Come on. Anyway, we're going to be trying to upload that previous video that was taken down sometime in the future. I just have to make sure I correct anything that might be wrong with it. I don't even know whether they'll let me re-upload it or not. But if I can, I will. And if I can't, just don't get mad at me. Just get mad at YouTube. Until next week, good luck at the tables, and we'll see you back here soon.